Hello, and welcome to another Legacy video from NicFitMTG.com. This time I'm going to be piloting Sneak Fit, which is a red-green-black combo variant of Nic Fit that uses sneak attack in order to power out big threats like Primeval Titan and Emrakul and end the game real fast. Unlike some of the other Nic Fit variants, like Bug that I piloted earlier last week, this one is more of a combo deck, so it can sort of try to end the game very quickly. It can actually sneak attack Emrakul as early as turn 2, although that's kind of unlikely. It requires like pretty much a perfect start. Um, this deck this deck runs a little bit more in terms of lands because it really needs to get to 4 from sneak attack, and it has sort of a really precarious mana base. So it's running Primeval Titan and Field of the Dead, but it's also running Grove of the Burnwillows. So you sort of, and that sort of works against Field of the Dead because you want 3 groves, and then you have Field. It's got just not quite as solid of a mana base as some of the other Nic Fit variants. I think this one is running 6 basics, and even that, oh no, it's running 7 basics, and that's kind of a stretch actually. It doesn't have as many fetch lands as some of the other variants, so only 6 fetch lands, 4 Verdants, and 2 Prismatic Vistas. So sometimes it can have sort of that really awkward start where it doesn't have green mana on turn 1. So it's got a slightly higher mulligan ratio and everything like that as a result. It does have a pretty good matchup against some of the like fairer creature-based decks in the format. It's got Punishing Fire, which really helps. Although, Delver used to basically really fold to Punishing Fire, but Dreadhorde Arcanist actually handles it pretty well. But it's got that. It's got 5 other removal spells in 3 Abrupt Decays and 2 Assassin's Trophies. I wanted to try the Assassin's Trophies in here. A lot of people are just running Abrupt Decays in this variant. I wanted to put in 2 Assassin's Trophies because sometimes you really want to hit something like an opposing Karakas so that to turn on Emrakul. Emrakul again is sort of your big finisher. It's got a pretty standard Nic Fit package. 4 Veteran Explorers, it's running the full 4 Cabal Therapies in addition to 2 Village Rites. This deck is able to sacrifice things a little more easily because it's got Sneak Attack. You can sneak something, attack. After damage, it's going to die to Sneak Attack anyway, so you can Village Rites it. So I'm kind of liking Village Rites as both a way to to draw cards in order to get to the combo, and as a way to sort of get value. Even if you don't have like Sneak Attack and Emrakul, you can still Sneak Attack something else and then sacrifice it to Village Rites. It's running a few Silver Bullets. It's got Collector Ouphe, which is sort of the combo hate. It's got Scavenging Ooze, which sort of hates on any graveyard-based strategies, both the Uro variety as well as maybe like a Reanimator or Dredge type strategy or Hogak. Um, it's got Sakura-Tribe Elder to just try to hold the ground and block and then sacrifice him. And then it's got Tireless Tracker, pretty standard, and Eternal Witness to get back any things that die. But Fierce Empath is sort of a slightly different one that's usually not in most Nic Fit builds, but in this build you really want Fierce Empath, and it works as part of a couple different combos with Sneak Attack. So one, you can Sneak Attack Fierce Empath and get Emrakul, but you can also go Fierce Empath into something like Woodland Bellower, into something like Tireless Tracker, or Woodland Bellower, you can sneak a Woodland Bellower, get Fierce Empath, and then get Primeval Titan or Emrakul. So it's got a lot of different uses in the sneak attack build. It's got Meren because your creatures tend to die as a result of sneak attack. For the big creatures that you want to sneak attack in, it's got Woodland Bellower, which is sort of a this thing can grab any creature, any non-legendary green creature in your deck, convert a mana cost 3 or less. So that's Fierce Empath. It can get Eternal Witness. It can put a Tireless Tracker into play. It can get a Scavenging Ooze, Collector Ouphe, any of those. So it's pretty good. So even if you sneak attack it, it can also put a creature into play that doesn't die at the end of the turn. So that's kind of nice. The other big finisher is Primeval Titan. Primeval Titan, of course, can get Field of the Dead. It can get some of your other one-off lands like Karakas or Grove of the Burnwillows. It can get the 2 towers in Phyrexian Tower and Volrath Stronghold. Volrath Stronghold is sort of another kind of a combo with sneak attack. Once you've sneak attack something like Primeval Titan, you get Volrath Stronghold and something else, and then you can put it on top of your deck for next turn and sneak attack at the very next turn. So it has a lot of uses in this deck. And then the final finisher is, of course, Emrakul itself. So Emrakul, anytime you attack with this, it doesn't always, but it virtually always ends the game. Annihilator 6 causing the opponent to sacrifice 6 permanents when you attack them. That's a lot. They typically die. And it's fetchable in the deck with Fierce Empath. So you can Green Sun for 3, get your Fierce Empath, get Emrakul, sneak attack. So, Fierce Empath, again, sort of works in a lot of the different combos to enable searching for any of your big creatures. Out of the sideboard, the only things from red that it's running in the sideboard is it's running 2 Red Blasts. Red Blast is sort of in a really good position right now. It's sort of the only like 1-mana answer to Oko in the format, so it can counter Oko while it's on the stack, or you can let Oko resolve and get the food and then Red Blast Oko. It's nice to be able to Red Blast Oko, but in a deck that's also running black, sometimes you can Red Blast Oko and they might have Veil, which is sort of a disaster. But Red Blast is really nice. It can counter that. It also gives the deck maybe just a little bit more against some of the blue combo decks, something like Show and Tell. Even though this deck isn't the worst against Show and Tell, it can always show its own Emrakul, for example. But Red Blast just gives it a little bit more there. Other than that, a pretty standard sideboard of what I've been running in a lot of my Nic Fit variants. It's running the 3 Leyline, 1 Nile Spellbomb split for graveyard decks. Nile Spellbomb, again, I sort of like that against the Uro decks. Whereas against graveyard decks like Dredge, Hogak, Reanimator, I'm bringing in both the Leylines and the Nile Spellbomb. The Plague Engineers didn't make the main deck. They made the sideboard in this deck. This deck has access to Punishing Fire, which just sort of gives it, something else where Plague Engineer maybe isn't as critical, but Plague Engineer is still super impactful against some of the decks where you would really want Plague Engineer, like Elves or any sort of tribal deck, or even something running a lot of humans like Maverick. It's got Rex Sage as another possible creature to get with Woodland Bellower, or you can just Green Sun Zenith for it. Any deck with meaningful artifacts or enchantments, this is pretty good. 2 Veil of Summers to try to make sure that your sneak attacks or other combo stuff resolves. Veil is just really powerful. 2 Run of Fowls for depth decks, and Carpet of Flowers, again, this is sort of a lot of Nic Fit decks run this. Against sort of the blue control decks like Miracles or Snow, you swap Vets for Carpets in order to have one-sided ramp instead of two-sided ramp. But against decks like Delver, you just straight add the Carpet of Flowers so that you sort of turn off their mana denial plan. So this is a deck that I've been meaning to try, and it's also sort of the last article on nicfitmtg.com that I haven't written. So I gotta I wanted to have some videos to post with sort of a walkthrough of this deck. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to really show this one off. So over the next few days, I'll probably be putting this through a league, and then I'll upload the videos after the fact. I won't be streaming them live, but that's sort of my plan, and I hope you'll tune in. Thanks again.